Hi, everyone. I'm Alicia, and there was a request in the survey that you took this past week to maybe consider using the webcam a little bit more to show me while I'm doing these videos. And so I decided to go ahead and give it a try. So I guess you get to see me a little bit more now. So looking at week 5 and what we did, we talked about level 2 evaluation. So remember, this is the evaluating that happens in the learning context, how people are learning, how they're applying that learning, what they're doing to show that they've learned whatever the material from the training or the course was. And then talked about validity and reliability and how we need to make sure that how we're measuring is on target, that it's measuring what we want and that it's consistently doing that. And that can be a challenge to do, but it's something that we should aim for in our evaluations. And then some of you got into the teacher versus learner-centered discussion forum and looking at how we can make things more learner-centered instead of so focused on the teacher and their perspective, but really focusing on the learner and their experience and what their perspective is in the evaluation or in the situation. So thank you for your participation in the discussion boards, and also thank you for your comments in the survey, in the Stop, Start, Continue survey. That really provides me with some information on your perspective because I don't get to see you and just ask you these questions in person in a face-to-face kind of setting. So I have to rely on other ways to see how things are going, if things are working or not working. So thank you for helping me have that feedback so we can try and make it a better class, because I'm certainly willing to make changes if I know that things are wanting to be done, and it's also good to know what's going well so we know what to continue doing. So one of the changes that you'll see right off is that I've added these check boxes off on this side. Two people mentioned that in other classes they have check boxes available so that they can mark off things when they get it completed. And I had no idea that was even an option. So I looked it up online to see if I could figure it out and found some directions on how to do it. So I've added these check boxes off on the side. They're totally optional. I don't see anything that you click on it. It's just for you to be able to use if you want it. So if you don't want it, you can ignore it. If you do want it, then I have put the check boxes next to anything that is both graded and required. So for example, the framework isn't a graded activity. Yes, you still need to read the materials in it. You still need to watch the videos. You still need to participate in looking at the framework and seeing what's going on, but it's not a graded activity. So I don't have a check mark there for you to mark it off. But participation in the week 6 discussion board is required, as is submitting your test questions. And for grad students, their writing assignment topic is also required this week. So if there's something that has a checkbox like this grad assignment that doesn't apply to you, you can just click it and it will mark it, and then you don't have to worry about it at all. If that's something that would be helpful for you. And then you know that, oh, I need to turn in the test question 1 and the week 6 discussion. You can see that this discussion board is optional. You can participate if you choose to, but you don't have to. So hopefully that will give you a little bit better way to organize it if that is helpful for you. So thank you for letting me know that that was something that would help. So I also have it on week 7. I'll add them to the weeks as we continue to get further in the semester. So taking a look at the framework for week 6, I'm going to post a video about the results from that survey from last week, so make sure you watch that. And then there are some handouts to read about developing test questions. So we've talked in the last couple of weeks about level 1 evaluations, which are the reactions that people have to the training or the course. And now level 2 evaluations about what they're learning and how they're applying it. So we're going to take the next couple weeks and talk about developing test questions. It's not the only type of level 2 evaluation we can do. You can do demonstrations or role plays or a lot of other ways to see how people are doing it, labs, hands-on activities. Those are all ways to see what people have learned and how they can apply it. But tests are a very common way and something that a lot of people use, and you'll come across a lot. And a lot of people haven't had much experience with actually writing the questions. They've taken them as students, or they've become an instructor and just started writing them, or using the test bank questions that the course or the textbook has provided, but they don't actually know a lot about the ways to develop good test questions and to make them understandable to the students, but still challenging. So these handouts provide some guidelines on all of those things. You'll want to read those because that will provide the basis for the assignment this week. Then you'll also want to watch this video from Robin, because she talks about making our evaluations more consistent in our formatting. So she takes an example and breaks it down into the pieces of how to make it better, how to change it so that the formatting is more readable, it makes it easier to follow, and it makes it a nicer looking document. So that would be helpful to consider, especially as we're creating more evaluations and doing more things with this class. And hopefully it will be useful for you in the future as well as you consider how you'll use evaluations. So the assignments this week are to complete the writing test assignment 1. It's called number 1 because next week we'll have assignment number 2 and the following week assignment number 3. They are fairly straightforward. You'll be writing a few questions, true, false, and multiple choice questions this week. And you're writing, excuse me, you're writing your questions about these types of questions. So you might have a true, false question that true, false questions are always easy to guess. The answer is false. And then you would want to provide why the answer is false in your answer key. That would be just an example. So make sure that your questions are not about your case study. They're not about level 2 evaluations. The content of your questions is about what you've learned about writing true and false and multiple choice questions. So if that's confusing, please talk to me because people sometimes do get confused about this. So I've tried to explain it, but I'm glad to clarify again if needed. So do that assignment. It's due by Sunday at midnight. Then your other assignment, I decided to add this into the assignment list just to make sure people don't miss it, is to post in the discussion board your 2 posts at least by Sunday. I always encourage you to do more, but make sure you get that part done. And if you're a graduate student, make sure you submit your topic no later than Sunday at midnight. And there was also a request from the survey last week to simplify the forum discussions. And I've thought about that myself, that they're a little bit long. That gives you a lot of things to consider, that you could write about different aspects of those questions. And those were questions that were developed previously. I didn't put those in. Those were already part of the course. But I went through and hopefully simplified it a little bit so you still have some options of what to talk about, but it's maybe not quite as overwhelming or as much. So, but that means I still expect to have good conversations about it, that if I'm providing simpler or not as many options for the discussion, that you're still going to talk about things in depth and be able to go into the conversation and not just leave it at a superficial level. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping that you can get from that. So that's what we're doing this week. Like I said, for the next couple of weeks, we'll have more assignments that will be due. I know that it's been nice to just have them due every other week, but the content or the reading that is required for the next couple of weeks is a little bit lightened, that you'll be reading handouts instead of chapters and watching a few videos maybe, but it's not intensive on the learning activity side of it. It will be a little bit more on the assignment side, but that still shouldn't be hopefully too cumbersome. So feel free to share your test questions with your peers if you choose to, and to give feedback to others and hopefully get some feedback yourself to see what you need to do. And if you have questions, please let me know. I'm always glad to answer questions and I'm here to help you. And otherwise, I will see you online. Thanks.